Umbrakinetics, the most tempting out of all elemental abilities, and even my all-time favorite out of the many honed skills. The complete polar opposite of my unique photokinetics list, and maybe a follow-up to my own doppelgangers.
I will extinguish all light!
Just in time for the haunted times of the year, featuring Halloween and the Day of the Dead. Whether undead or lively, they seem to be the most versatile of them all. Both shadows and darkness work hand in hand and merge into one powerful force. From consuming the light and sometimes time, or bending shadows to overcome many obstacles, or having their omnipotence in solid, liquid, gas, or thin air, even creating their own matter or antimatter. They can just be the ultimate power, even capable of manipulating the hearts and minds of many. They can be either heroes or anti-heroes, known as good darkness, not just be cliched evil simpletons. Their omnipotence knows no bounds. They can usually be scary, serious, relatable, and sometimes alluring. Now, turn off those pesky lights and let the darkness consume and empower your soul. I know I'm repeating things here, but there are hardly any Mavericks that are capable on Umbrakinesis, so I guess the reject Dark Necrobat would have to do. It was once a contender on my Chiropterans list a couple years ago. As a Vampire Bat Maverick, he should have a touch of darkness. Bats thrive as nocturne creatures, and in opaque places. So the Capcom developers gave him two moves representing their night shifts. First is the Dark Wave, which are three slow-moving shockwaves across the arena, high or low. Or this can just be an example of either evil light or just plain echolocation. This attack does occur when it's half alive though. Another is the Dark Hole, which enables it to freeze time and the battle temporarily, after charging up energy making him vulnerable to onslaughts. He also executes more of his Dark Wave for covering more ground, and just like a usual Umbrakinetic is nihilistic and despises light, their opposing element. And like any underdog, it does tend to fade away into obscurity, much like how Umbrakinetics blend into the shadows. I feel sorry for it sometimes, and all I can shed is pity. Its attacks hardly does anything to do with Umbrakinesis, more like evil light, a common contingency, hence the low rating. Kind of contradictory, but it does make up for it in more like pathos tendencies and a thief in the night, taking the shuttle's fuel tank, so I guess it's close enough. Shadow from the Twisted Metal series was an interesting pick. Ever since I first discovered Twisted Metal 2 and the OG PlayStation, when I was around 9 or 10-ish, It was fascinating. Shadow is a cursed hearse that debuted in my favorite installment, and the driver is usually either a goth or simply a fallen angel bent by revenge and a black heart, much like Hanzo. This awesome purple-black vehicle has a nifty design, which kind of fooled me looking like a limo. It's fast, though long, making it an easy target, but its signature move, the Soul Shadow, is where it's at. The horrific hearse shoots out a shadow particle toward an opponent and often emits an organ sound. It's often short range, but it can't decimate any normal vehicle within a few hits. It's also fast, but it needs to be used with extreme caution, as using a nitro while shooting it can have you caught in its wake. Also, the user can shoot it and detonate it while pressing the weapon twice. In later games, the design and weapon get some upgrades. Sometimes it'd be accompanied by a long-range turret, or a Grim Reaper detonator which hones in on enemies, but does less damage, or get a boost in power by hitting several enemies at once, or be charged for more power and range while also traveling on walls. Sometimes a coffin bomb is used to inflict maximum damage, and Shadow has also appeared in the Peacock series too. This cursed hearse caught my eye almost instantly, like Twister, although it can be tough to master, and I'd only known it in one game thus far. It's just perfect for the season of Restless Souls, and Shadow is no exception as that, nor is a basic Umbrakinetic. It just screeches it! Mephiles the Dark is just synonymous with Umbrakinesis. Born as Solaris' calm and cunning mind opposing the fiery heart Iblis, he can definitely rival those other dark wielders such as Shadow the Hedgehog and Dark Gaia. He gains more power as he absorbs other shadows, and increases ever more if it's the same victim he'd taken its shadow from. As he travels, he's hardly in a physical form, and functions an actual silhouette, blending into other shades as a spy, or just a breath of the wind. Just like another contender, Mephiles is capable on mimicry, by shape-shifting into other users' shadows, or being in some distorted disguise, or copying abilities such as Shadow's chaos control. He can dig into surfaces and merge with other shades. He too can create clones of himself using the Umbrakinesis he wields to invade an enemy. And through the Chaos Emeralds, his Umbrakinesis and reality warping can go tenfold. And he also utilizes time travel, flight, and sometimes evil light for good company. He possesses many traits of another certain evildoer later on, not just being immortal and capable on Umbrakinesis, in addition to mastering deception. However, because he's the sinister willful consciousness of Solaris, he merged with the fiery heart Iblis, and they're soon eradicated by the trio of super hedgehogs. And after the Time God's base form being blown out, as stupid as it sounds, Mephiles only existed in one non-canon game. He's quite interesting to have a devilish hedgehog and a rep of Satan in the Sonic universe. Not just the fact being voiced by the legendary Dan Green, of course. But I wish the 15th anniversary wasn't such a rush screw-up, often replaced by another, thus wasted Mephiles' potential. There are still some fans that like Mephiles and want him back. just none of them merging with a fire demon and become the time god BS. As superficial as demon crats tend to be.
Any hope for mercy is lost.
It may be an unlikely choice of an Umbrakinetic, since the bouncer hardly has anyone who's an elemental, except minor examples such as PD4's electrokinesis as an android, or Sion's flaming uppercut, and Dauragon appears to be one of them. The bouncer was co-created by Dream Factory and Squaresoft, so they needed to come up with something fishy for that Shinra lookalike. So, they'd randomly snuck in not just his brutal strength, nor his dissonant serenity, but also a few traces of Umbrakinesis. He does have a dark aura and a powerful influence, but also a trace of darkness like his own warped soul. Aside from his opaque attire, i.e. his heavy cloaks, overalls, and pants, there's a trace of Umbrakinesis, most notably in his third and rare final forms during the last boss battles aboard the Gallios. Once he shows off his Akama is a sign of him showing no mercy, and as a high-ranked martial artist, and as you'd see once his back flashes, he pents up and unleashes either a long, instantaneous punch named the Jet Uppercut, creating massive, unblockable damage. Even worse, combined with the ragdoll physics colliding into others. Both his third and fourth forms become intense and nerve-wracking as Dauragon gains immense power in his moves, including that one stunt, and others in his final form, whereas he caves into his indulgence for fighting all out and bearing the dragon tattoo on his back. Through it, he conjures up his might and unleashes rapid, damaging punches known as the rushing beat. When if caught, a player is surely at his mercy. Not only that, but he surrounds his legs in a dark aura as a flying dragon kick. His Umbrakinetic moves are so powerful that they may even disable the player's or opponent's blocks. I've seen this happen a lot in my playthroughs long ago, possibly completely diminishing your defense stat. Due to his intimidation in terms of his personality and combat, I always envisioned him using Dark Ki, similar to that in Dragon Ball. And he pretty much uses Umbrakinesis and tremendous power levels, even life regeneration, so it does make sense. And he functioned as such in my Bouncer tetralogy with Dragon Ball Z, even pondering up using his dragon tattoo as the basis on transforming into a dark chimera. I mean, the Yakuza tattoo had to be used for something. With such omnipotence, Dauragon's the underrated incarnate. His powerful moves can completely debilitate both your nerves and your defenses. And being it's for Halloween, it's no question he's made it as one of my favorite villains and creepiest enemies since before I began high school. The PS2's launch title certainly did a hell of a job with Dauragon as a domineering elemental that should never be taken lightly. Move over, Bongo Bongo, as I'd saved you for another list to haunt. He's here. The Phantom Shadow Beast himself has made it here as one of my favorite Umbrakinetics. Aside from Phantom Ganon and Twin Rova, I consider him to be a memorable elemental and challenging boss. He's a disfigured corpse who was once executed at the bottom of the well in Kakariko Village, and had his spirit sealed in by Impa. But 7 years later, when Ganondorf came into power, Bongo Bongo was unleashed and busted away from his prison, where only Sheik noticed the coming cataclysm and warned Link to stay away. He set off several fires throughout the village, then ambushed Sheik and Link in an invisible and sometimes shadowy streak. His hatred has created such a powerful force, enough to incapacitate them and escape to the Shadow Temple, where his confrontation starts, by beating on a bongo throughout the dungeon as if lulling you in. Then beats the execution song before engulfing in shadow, as only the lens of truth from his resting place can pierce through his illusion. But a boss possessing the second most hit points and various and speedy attacks, he can't be underestimated. While finding a Zelda contender, Bongo Bongo was my immediate choice. He manipulates darkness and shadow, even traveling over surfaces, soaring, shrouding, and becoming invisible by shadow. He certainly has a black heart and may even manipulate his severed hands through Umbra telekinesis, despite being a ripoff of other N64 bosses like Andross or Irock. Still, I found him to be quite intriguing. What I didn't know was he used to be human, a dark male Sheikah, but the developers didn't seem to bring it up. Just hardcore devoted Zelda fans. I can definitely see him as evil Sheikah wielding the black arts, as they're indeed associated with shadow and magic. They can be so opaque that they can perform sinister deeds beneath our noses, thus corrupting beneath the well and even the Shadow Temple as their former turf. Bent by vengeance and tempting darkness, it's no doubt they themselves, including Bongo, had become undead consumed by hatred and once were spies to the royal family. And it wasn't until Ganondorf rose with power, utilizing his piece of the Triforce, they were brought to life. Actually, I'm certain it was for Bongo alone who'd pioneered these evil black arts to the Sheikah, as well as engineering the Shadow Temple with the many torture chambers, racing the undead, shrouded in mystery and shadow, and becoming a vengeful wraith, even developing his own execution song. Yes, the Chieftain of Darkness. His hypnotism and his rituals must have recruited the undead, and the dark spirits throughout Hyrule, and Ganondorf must have been pleased. He has been chosen in my annual tribal ceremonies, drawing and tempting others under his sensuous thrall and beats. And he was quite the formidable opponent as a boss, and even against Zelda II's Pokémon, nearly wiping out her whole team. His temptation, his talents, his mystery, his sorcery, his restless, insatiable wraith. He has become very irresistible since I was a teen, and the Shadow Temple was originally my favorite till the menacing challenges. Still, I wish Bongo would have more story potential in the series. And his song. When brainstorming for an Umbrakinetics list, I was racking my brain like a mad woman, and then this tragic clown entered my mind, even more insane and sympathetic than Kepka. Count Bleck used to be known as Blumir, later called Lord Timpani, which the former name alone is very neat considering drums are my favorite instrument. But also, Bleck can either be a misinterpretation of darkness, aka Bleck, aka Black, or just a disgusting revolt. As the last surviving member of the Tribe of Darkness, which broke off from the Tribe of the Ancients, he took their spellbook, the Dauragon away and used it for himself in order to never be misused. One day he was gravely injured next to a cliff and was found by a girl named Timpani, who took him in. Unfortunately, her cruel father taught her to stay away from humans, thus always rejecting Blumir, despite their budding relationship. However, her father disowned her before their marriage and banished her, while also turning into a pixel, leaving poor Blumir heartbroken and soon irate. Using the Dark Prognosticus and never finding Timpani, he went on a rampage, erasing his own realm along with others from existence. God damn! I can certainly sympathize with him than a fallen jester with no past identity at all. Wielding the Dark Prognosticus and being from the Tribe of Darkness, Umbrakinesis is indeed Lord Timpani's specialty. The Chaos Hearts matching his own impure organ empowers him more, enabling him to defy gravity and fly since he has no legs, teleport at will while turning a page of the spellbook, which materializes beside him, become immune to attacks, but his scepter is what truly shines. As it emits unblockable dark blobs, dark vortexes similar to destructive black holes, including dimensional rips, which could suck up his enemies, even slow down time, which is common with dark magic for some odd reason. Even unleashing nasty voids and shadow blasts directly. And everyone seems to be attracted to his colorful outfit and loyal with his charisma. All excepting Dementia, his twisted psychic soon traitor. I'm not much of a clown person, but I do seem to be interested on who Count Bleck is, and his abilities. It's not as basic and can be immensely powerful than previous entries. The saddest thing is, he only appears in one game, the tragic Dark Super Paper Mario, which I feel is the best installment, even surpassing Thousand Year Door. You see, with Mario and his companion Pixel reuniting the Pure Hearts, while also decimating Dementio, the petite Firefly reveals her true identity as Lady Timpani, Bleck's lost love interest. This definitely tagged his heartstrings and the players, and it's no doubt why their backstory is labeled as one of the most iconic, saddest moments in video games. For once, I don't blame the majority, and I can relate to Lord Timpani in many ways. It's too bad they leave to live together peacefully to the Elder Gods nowhere, and one of the reasons why I tend to love dark fantasy and characters is how we can relate to them and take matters more seriously. None of the sunshine and rainbow fantastical girl crap. I always love the concept, lore, abilities, tragic backstory, his status, and the fact that Timpani reminds so much of ourselves. Plus, it's quite intriguing his married name was Timpani, and is the last member of the Tribe of Darkness. Perfect combination since Bongo Bongo. Hopefully he'd utilize both. It's just one personal example that Umbrakinetics should never be overshadowed.
fool! Bow down before my power, Falcon!
Just like his close associate Deathborn, and on my telekinetics list, F-Zero has made it again on my elementals, only this time, it's the Emperor of Brutality. As his name implies, I always classified Black Shadow as not just an Umbrakinetic and demon hailing from the underworld, but mostly a walking nightmare. Whenever he's around, his omnipotent shows. If only he was taken more seriously in GX. And since he's often shrouded in shadow and mystery, not much is known about him, nor his abilities. It's this fear of the unknown that can make him so powerful. And that's what some Umbrakinetics and demons are known for. Much like Deathborn as a decimating and opaque black hole. Despite being shrouded in shadow and obscurity, I think he's capable on some Umbrakinesis. He has a sort of dark light as he's been conjuring energy to entangle Captain Falcon and use Umbra telekinesis like Bongo Bongo and shut the cockpit while Blood activates the speed-sensitive bomb. He always seems to operate unawares, as if he would blend into opaque environments or in hell, even sending souls there, before he's easily noticeable while cackling and causing chaos. As the Emperor of Evil, he does tend to strike fear, plotting to assassinate Falcon in front of fans, and even causing the horrific accident. Or just being an absolute beast on the tracks as long as his craft is handled well. In the anime, Black Shadow finds and utilizes the Dark Reactor Mites, powerful particles of the universe's creation, with 3 other light counterparts. Heck, his own crime organization is in fact Dark Million, and his purpose is to seek out the other light mites, and kill off the Savior to make his dominance absolute. And even used some to revive the Skull, Haruka Masaki, and transform Zoto. Even further into the show, he's capable of manipulating shadows as different versions of himself, even shaping them as other characters such as Don Genie and Deathborn, who function as black market chairsmen of the F-Zero Committee, even designing the Dark Star operating in deep space and threatening enough to destroy many galaxies. And in the English fan dub, he's addressed as Black, much like Goku Black. Just like Captain Falcon and the Blue Falcon was inspired by Batman and the Batmobile, it's likely his attire was loosely based on the Dark Knight's costume as well. They both symbolize Halloween, so why not? In my timeline, he's capable on these things, and then some when he uses the Dark Reactor Mites to manipulate the minds of the Elite Mobile Task Force, like he did with Rick, and tried it on my OC Tinsel as a test subject. Darkness can be powerful, but also very tempting like Bongo Bongo and another contender. I wish Black Shadow's abilities were brought into the spotlight, but I guess since he operates within our nightmares and the darkness, well, he's got plenty of potential.
Remove the shadow from the light, the shadow grows. The legacy of life is death, Raiden. My followers accept this and live on. They fight for me.
The bronze medal goes to the fallen elder god of darkness and death. Shinnok was one of the elder gods created by the One Being. After the war and the deity was divided into the several realms, he eventually turned on the Pantheon and became wrathful, attacking the heavens, earth realm, and then killing off the lesser gods, with Raiden and Fushin barely surviving his insatiable mayhem. He was responsible for not only destroying Earth and the heavens, but also the culprit on causing a cataclysm millions of years ago, due to a fallen god which caused the extinction of the dinosaurs and the Saurians. Then was weakened enough to be banished to the Netherrealm and vowed revenge, even commandeering its many denizens including the Oni, Spectres, and even the Revenants. Ever since his debut in MK4, he's nothing to snuff about. Shinnok's might is just so intense that he created his own amulet which houses all his evil, enhances his prowess, and can just be its own Kamidogu. Just like Black Shadow, it possesses Shinnok's pure evil essence, and has mysterious capabilities such as unlocking the Solnado, control the undead, sucking up living people with its maw like a Pokeball, and encases Shinnok's focused dark powers. It is often separated from the user, which greatly weakens him, and due to his manipulation and corruption, it makes the holder cave into rage and madness, as it's done to Raiden a few times. Indeed, Shinnok does possess the black arts exceeding that of Shang and Quan, and often functions as a chess master, and often doesn't fight outright. Full of cunning, mimicry, manipulation, terror, charisma, and dominance. And just like Mephiles, he definitely has skills in duplicity. Once he's involved in battle, he's a decent fighter. He's not much of a threat after he corroded the Jinsei and became a chaotic demon. But as long as he has the amulet, he has some strong moves, including copying a combatant's abilities and essence without the requirement on taking souls, and his learned set in his possession. Aside from summoning soul-crushing grips from his skeletal hands, he can forge illusions much like how Dark Link could, including creating his own doppelganger, energy balls, sense other dark energies, hell sparks which seem like purple flames, or enhance to a hell blast, beams and bursts of dark energy, and sometimes pyrokinesis, telekinesis, and biokinesis with skeletal limbs for extra measure. I think he's even capable in dark influence without the amulet, as there are demons and revenants that worship him, even as he created the Brotherhood of Shadow. As a pure evil incarnate opposing his sister's light, I'm sure he's more than capable on either banishing or even brainwashing various beings under him. He certainly is tempting at times, as much as Bongo Bongo. But an Umbrakinetic can't be complete without a dark history, right? Well, in my chronology, I sort of expanded on that. As a discarded member of the Pantheon like Lucifer, and as a brother to Cetrion and son of Chronica, I felt he himself was being shrouded in betrayal by his own family, with the Golden Child blindly obedient to the controlling Titaness influencing the Elder Gods. Rejected by his own free will, he became irate and was the suitable hellish overlord, and defeated Lucifer while being one. His soul is pure darkness that he could even manipulate the hearts of others, including Igo's conjuring a black gem, which the undead later used for his same functionality, as well as split his soul in two, as he'd actually take on the Dark Ray instead, like another contender. Even though I usually despise Shinnok, especially his toxic influence, I still can't help but feel sympathetic to this devil. I feel he has tons of wasted potential, just like Taven or Kung Lao. And I wish he had more of a tragic past involving his family and fellow gods. But nevertheless, the Devil's Cousin has just enough dark factors to take the bronze rank.
A soul cannot be tamed.
While Leon from Final Fantasy II is the primordial of an Umbrakinetic in the series, it was usually limited to Japan. Thus, Cecil Harvey has actually been my personal earliest example of an Umbrakinetic. As a Dark Knight since I'd encountered the SNES version, and I'd grown attached and sympathized with that tragic character ever since I was 4. It was almost like love at first sight. It's no question I'd chosen him as one of my all-time favorite doppelgangers as well. We first see Cecil as a Dark Knight in his debut game, as Lord Captain of Baron's airship fleet, the Red Wings. He's been reluctant in following the King's orders on stealing the world's crystals and wearing the cursed dark armor, and he's been burdened ever since. I usually think that the dark aura encased in it always gives their users negativity and an urge to unleash their wrath, and even gift them awesome abilities. Cecil wields some very omnipotent moves, including Darkness, which increases his attack prowess, while also sapping energy, which in itself is a rarity. He wears dark equipment, which makes him immune to status ailments, and grows more powerful, even with Dark, Hades, and Shadow equipment. And even the amazing Deathbringer, which can make instant kills. Unfortunately, since with all that power, only Light can conquer evil, and so he was stripped off once he transformed into a paladin in Mount Ordeals. It was too bad to give it up, but at least we can use both forms in the Dissidia games, mostly using ground-based moves, each utilizing Umbrakinesis, including his deathly Soul Eater, which sucks away an opponent's bravery and defeats them. His abilities are usually slow sweepers, whether it be the Gravity Ball, Dark Flame, Dark Claw, Nightfall, Shadowlance, and Dark Cannon, to name a few. Unlike the original, Cecil still retains his determination, camaraderie, as well as insecurities, yet still possesses a good nature and desires to do the right thing. And finally, in the after years, where he consumed his soul in a complete shadow at the Lunarian's moon. Ever since Cecil became a paladin, his dark aura's been casted away for 17 years, until it reunited with his lost family and unleashes his wrath. He too possesses some hard hitters such as his own Black Fang, Darkness, and even Doom with severe status ailments, and is quite the physical wall. Nevertheless, he's still the yin of Cecil's persona, and he later accepts him as a part of his psyche, while Gobas pretty much does the same, stripping as the Man in Black, and also accepts his and Cecil's evil side. Guess it runs in the family. Due to how epic of an Umbrakinetic and a perfect rep for good darkness, he was inspiration of my OC based on his malicious tendencies and awesome abilities named Damien. The personification of darkness seeping into Cecil's soul, since he first wore the dark armor, then was released and became a different identity ever since he became a paladin in my 2-part fanfiction. Hell, I even made a Cecil-centric fic for Dissidia, when Kuja and Chaos took advantage of Cecil's Umbrakinesis for the first time, consuming him with wrath and madness and trying to override his light persona, making him as a true warrior of chaos. Dark Knight Cecil was impactful to me all my life, whether it be his interesting offense and defense, his tragic experiences, and being in the dark gray area, his integrity and occasional evil, and the moral that we must accept our own dark side as part of who we are. And just as magnificent as a doppelganger like Mewtwo, he always rivaled every single darkness and shadow wielder I've encountered. But only one shall take the cake. Alright, we counted down 9 awesome wielders of darkness. Let's give some dark light to the honorable and dishonorable mentions. Darkness certainly shines brighter for this epic little guy. Umbreon, the Moonlight Pokémon hailing from Johto, ignites this list in first place. He wasn't necessarily my earliest encounter of an Umbrakinetic, but he's definitely the most iconic. The evolution just screeches darkness and Umbrakinesis all around. It sure is difficult to level it up at night with high friendship, but once you do, you just can't give him up. Umbreon was definitely the signature Pokémon representing the formerly new Dark type, and it was certainly a guilty pleasure since it's the broken Psychic type's worst enemy. As I'd stated many things in my doppelgangers list, Umbreon's intriguing in every concept, including stats, techniques, what it's based from, and always reminds me of a small horse. Umbreon is actually based off of the Black Cat, which although is unlucky in the US, it's good luck in Japan. It's also a hybrid with the moon hair, at least its ears in Japanese culture, although its glowing lunar markings are loosely from Egyptian lore. Having the complete black fur with the yellow rings and red sinister eyes is the perfect design, especially when classifying good darkness. With its rings, Umbreon is known to absorb moonlight, contrary to grass types, and have its rings glow and ignite for its owner to see, like it did with Virgil as a guide when they got lost in the woods. They also gain a dim light when it's just about to pounce on its enemies, Its black fur blends in well within opaque environments, and it's also capable of spraying and sweating a poisonous gas cloud when provoked. Its prefix, Umbra, is just synonymous with its element, which debuted in Johto along with steel types. Other than that, it can possess a variety of Umbrakinetic moves, such as Fan Attack, Pursuit, Moonlight, Torment, Payback, Dark Pulse, and one of my personal favorites, Beat Up. It can actually learn a variety of moves from Ghost, Fairy, Psychic, Normal, and a few Poison and Fire types. Believe it or not, as much as it's a Psychic and Ghost type's worst nightmare, its best stats its defense and special defense, which the latter is reassuring. It's also a nice touch. Since they're carnivores and predators, stalking and awaiting its prey to be in range before striking the throat and eating the corpse, even chasing them with pursuit. They also happen to be very loyal and protective of their trainers. Throughout the generations, Umbreon has been an amazing sidekick to trainers, like Virgil and his team Eevee, Wes in Pokemon Coliseum, Gary Oak, Karen, and is commonly paired with Espeon. Hell, even my trainer OC Zelda II for Ocarina of Time and Akari for Reboot, each owned one, and was always an ideal choice. As I'd stated before, I consider Umbreon to be Eevee's doppelganger. Not necessarily evil, and is just the perfect example of good darkness. Both Umbreon and Cecil alone had taught me that darkness and Umbrakinetics aren't always scary, nor malicious. Sometimes they can just be misunderstood, as they fade into obscurity and tend to appear threatening and unawares. And since it's the holiday season suitable for darkness, there was no better time, and Umbreon has impacted me the most. Thus another reason why I'm a Gen 2er through and through. And it's not hard to see why Umbreon's the very first Pokemon wielding my all-time favorite element, for these cool reasons. Thank you Arceus and Game Freak on making Dark types and Umbrakinetics as the most epic element ever. I'm the Ikron Rider, and Umbreon was just one of those special Pokemon I became infatuated with the moment I saw one, as well as my all-time favorite Umbrakinetic. When it comes to users of Darkness and Shadow, despite them always hiding, make sure you make a thorough observation before judging them. That even the blackest heart or the darkest diamond be able to shine the brightest. Whether heroes, anti-heroes, or villains, Umbrakinetics are always my guilty pleasure.
I said remember